When you know it, that's my mom.
Good evening and welcome to Real People, Real Stories. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host for this evening's show, and I am so excited to have in the studio with me Miss Sandra Bassett.
Hello, everyone.
Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Is it Bassett or Bassett?
It's Bassett, like Angela Bassett, but without the fame and the money.
Well, that's a work in progress. I know you're heading there right now, right?
Yes, doing my best.
Well, I'd like to just share a little backstory of how Sandra and I met, and then we're going to jump into her bio. We met earlier this year at a restaurant, a local restaurant in Scottsdale, Arizona, that I went to have dinner and listen to some music. And it was at that restaurant. It was called Bodega 13 in North Scottsdale. And you were there. We met there. And one of the times that we actually went and listened to you play, you were an entertainer that evening, singing with your band at the restaurant as part of the supper club. Maybe I'll share that backstory another time in the show, another moment. But there's a little bit of a special moment that you brought into my life. But most importantly, I fell in love with you and your music in the first time I heard you, as did Mary. And we became, I'd say we started to follow you like groupies, perhaps, as they refer to in your business, the music business. But we started to follow you and we friended you on Facebook, and then decided to, when we felt like listening to either, rhythm and blues, jazz, Motown. What am I missing? Am I missing one of the genres?
I do a little blues and of course gospel. Yes.
Okay, there you go. The gospel part. We know where to go. We reach out and look at your schedule and see what you got going on in town, whether it be Phoenix or Scottsdale, as far away as even Gilbert, Arizona, sometimes at this point.
Yeah.
But what interested me about you and your story was when I learned your backstory, that although you had taken up instruments at a very young age, you didn't go into music out of college. You actually got into corporate America, and it was through your experiences of life that something shifted and something changed for you. I don't want to tell your story; it's your story to tell. So what I'd like to do is ask you to perhaps maybe start and share a little bit about your childhood and what it was like growing up in your home, where you grew up, and when you were introduced and how you're introduced into music and instruments, and then we'll take it from there. So welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Jay. It's such a pleasure to be with you and your listeners this evening, and to be able to have this opportunity. You are such a wonderful and such an inspiring person that you draw us in, and then you draw us out to be able to find out more about ourselves and about you, and together we can share. So I don't take this opportunity lightly to talk to all of your podcast listeners out there. So I say good evening. I'm Sandra Bassett, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, a product of the Detroit public school system. And I can say that growing up there with my mother and my father and my twin brother and baby brother, I had a lot of great and unique experiences. I can say that my upbringing in Detroit was not like the usual. My parents kept us involved in theater and music and bowling leagues. And my brothers, it was unique. Here we are, African Americans, and they're playing hockey in the city of Detroit. So they were involved in hockey. I'm involved in music and the theater. So that kept us off the streets and engaged culturally in our surroundings, and gave me the background that I needed and looked for in music. I started playing piano at the age of 5, and I was in ballet before that, but my father played piano. So I would sit next to him on the piano, and he would show me different techniques like stride piano and how to use my left hand and things of that sort. And we would play those little duets together. And it came a point in time when my mom said, well, Sandra, I'm about 5 years old. She says, baby, we can't do both. We can't do ballet and piano lessons. Which one do you want to do more? And I said, piano, of course. I mean, that's what daddy does. So I want to keep doing what daddy does and sit next to him. So that started me in learning piano at the age of 5. And going through the school system, I kept playing piano until the age of about, I would say about 12. And as I played piano, I grew up in the church. And that was my first true organized way of learning how music operated. You had to learn how to play the church hymn. And there was a structure to that music, and there was something uplifting in the songs that really resonated with people. So you had to learn how to play them the right way, or they would let you know immediately you didn't do it right. Get off the piano until you can figure it out. So I learned in the church. And then I learned also in the church how to sing, being a part of the choir. So I had the opportunity to sing in the choir and then also play at the same time and sing and direct. And I had great music teachers in the church that helped me to learn and develop that skill. So that by the age of 16, I had my first full-time job as a music minister at a Catholic church in Detroit, teaching ages 5 to 80 gospel music and directing them. I guess I
How
can.
was that? How was that for mom and dad?
Oh, mom totally loved it. Dad was happy he didn't have to drive me all over town until I got my license. So mom said, okay, baby, you grew up Baptist and you're going to be teaching what to who? I said, Mom, I'm going to be teaching gospel music in the Catholic Church. And she said, Catholic churches do gospel music? I said, yes, they're starting to learn. So this was back in the, oh my gosh, the late 80s. So yes, that was the time frame. Mom was very happy because she knew I had a foundation in the church and in God, and that if they really wanted me, she was not going to stand in the way of my gift. And my father felt the same way, but he was born and raised Methodist. And he said, okay, they want to get into gospel and you can teach them, go for it. And they were completely supportive. And financially, for me, it was great because I started making my own income. So I didn't need mom to buy me clothes anymore. I was giving her half my paycheck because I just felt like it was the right thing to do. So it
Beautiful.
was a blessing. They
By the
loved it.
time by the time you went to college, and we'll get there in a moment,
Yeah.
how many instruments had you mastered?
I started picking up different instruments in the 7th grade, so 12. By the time I got to college, I was playing 7. And I had picked up the additional, I was playing piano. I picked up 5 of them while I was in middle school because I would learn them very quickly. So I picked up flute first, clarinet, uh, trumpet, French horn, and bassoon. And my mother stopped buying instruments after the clarinet. She says, no, we're going to see if we can rent them because you keep changing your mind. And I said, well, mom, once I learn them and I've got it, it's time to go on and do something else that's more challenging. So when I got to the bassoon, by the time I was in the 8th grade, that was the instrument that I knew for sure I was going to have. Then here comes high school. And in my senior year of high school, after playing the bassoon and everything else, I'm watching these cool cats sitting over to the side playing this instrument called a saxophone. I said, what is it and how do I figure it out? So my band teacher gave me an alto and a tenor saxophone, let me go into a back room for about a week. And I came out and I was proficient enough to sit in first part, playing first part alto and tenor sax in about a week in my senior year of high school. It was crazy.
So you mastered all these instruments, 7, 8, 9 instruments,
Yes.
and not most, but so many people like myself struggle just to master one. What is it that makes you so unique and different?
I think personally it was just a challenge. So I'm sitting here looking at these different instruments and they fascinated me. I wanted to learn how did they work. And because I had a piano background, it made it easy. I could read treble clef music and I can read bass clef music. And my fingers were used to, moving around and doing different sounds. Because I was a singer, then that helped with my armature and playing trumpet and French horn. which gave me a headache, which is why I stopped and went to something else. Trying to get those notes, I can give you a headache. But I think it was curiosity, and I wasn't limited. I had a great music teacher in middle school who let me play whatever instrument I wanted to. She let me explore and figure out what instrument really resonated with me as a child. So she didn't limit me, and my parents didn't limit me either. So I went from every
Any of your
instrument I could get my hands
siblings, do any of your siblings play an instrument?
Not at all. It is so disappointing that I can't get them to play an instrument. However, they can sing and they are in tune and they have good voices, but they also refuse to do that. So I'm kind
Not
of
even,
all by
wait a
myself.
minute, wait a minute. Not even karaoke?
No, they won't do karaoke. They will not,
Okay.
because I made them sing when we were kids. I would make them sing in church, and I would make them sing at weddings and stuff with me because I needed background vocalists. And then when they got a little bit older enough to say no, and they were big enough to also beat me up if I tried to make them, well, then I kind of had no other choice. They could win. So the family musical choir and everything was not going to happen with those guys.
When you decided to go off to, well, let's say when you decided to go off to college when you were in high school, what was your favorite song of all time and or artist and your
Yeah.
song?
My favorite song was Yes, Jesus Loves Me. That was the first thing one of the songs that I remember learning in Sunday school. And it was so powerful to me then as it is now, because when times get tough and things are going on and you start to question who you are and what you're supposed to do and how things are supposed to work and you feel alone, I can still just simply say, yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. For the Bible tells me so. And that right there lets me know that everything is going to be okay, because I know no matter what, Jesus still loves me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that little piece of the song right there. So
Yes.
now you get my understanding is you got some of your college paid for, didn't you?
I was on a full scholarship, a full music scholarship in college,
Boom.
which
How
was
did
a
you
blessing.
how'd you get that? How'd you pull that one off?
Now, I didn't. I was another band teacher. So here I am at my high school, Henry Ford High School, Detroit, Michigan. And my band teacher, Mr. Benjamin Pruitt, he found out that I was going to go into the military. I had signed up for delayed enlistment into the Air Force
Wow.
because I could not afford to go to college. Mr. Pruitt said, that is not about to happen. We're gonna change that situation. He had connections with Kentucky State University, Tennessee State University, and Jackson University. These are all historically Black colleges and universities. And he called up the band directors and he had them come to Henry Ford High School in Detroit. And he brought me out in front of them and had me play my different instruments and had me sing and let me show what I could do. One of them offered me a partial scholarship. Kentucky, well, two of them offered me a partial scholarship. Kentucky State offered me a full scholarship. So I took the full scholarship with my 7 instruments. But here's the
So,
kicker.
so wait a minute. Did
Yeah,
you need a U-Haul? Did you need a U-Haul to bring your 7
yeah,
instruments from Kentucky to off from
yeah.
Detroit to Kentucky?
My dad took the van and we
Uh-huh.
put a trailer on the back. And me and my keyboard and my saxophone went off to school.
With probably one bag of clothing.
Yeah, you could say that, but no, I was a
Well,
clothes horse then. So
so you probably had one bag just for shoes, I bet,
that would be more accurate.
and
Absolutely.
another bag just for purses.
That would, yeah, there were a whole bunch of bags.
Yeah, yeah. So you had at least 3 bags, but 7 or 8 instruments in tow.
Yes, yes. So I
You're,
took what I could. It was great.
yeah. So I wonder if your dad must have had some hell of a insurance policy for all your musical instruments, because that had to cost a pretty penny.
Well, they limited the instruments that I was able to keep at home. The good thing about being in the school system in Detroit was that they allowed us to take instruments home. So I didn't have to fully pay. So there were a couple of instruments that I had on my own that I simply loved. That was my keyboard and my alto sax. The rest of them, because the bassoon was very, very expensive and very delicate, my parents would not buy me one of those. So my school actually had one, because we're talking about that in its lowest form was about a 7/8 $8,000 instrument. So I was able to use the one at school and take them back and forth. And then for the summer that I was out, which was great, as soon as I got to Kentucky State University, I loaded up on instruments all over again. So it worked out perfectly.
Beautiful, beautiful. So now you go to the university and you majored in music.
Business.
What?
I
Wait a
know,
minute.
right?
How does that happen? You get a full scholarship for music and you majored in business.
Okay,
Who
so
pulled that off?
this is the thing. As a child growing up, I always sold the most cookies in my Girl Scout troop. I always sold the most candy that my brothers had to sell from their Boy Scout troops. I was the one in elementary school that I could flip my allowance 3 to 5 times. And I would take my money. And at the time we had a penny candy store. That might be dating myself. But I would take my dollar in allowance in elementary school, go to the candy store, buy candy, and I would come back and sell it in school 3 for 5 cents. So I was always making money and selling and negotiating. So when it came time to go to college, I negotiated with the university to say, I want to major in business, but I will play in every single band you want me to play in. I will sing in whatever choirs you want me to sing in. I will fully participate and be a leader in the band and music system at the university if you give me the scholarship. Just let me major in business, because I felt
Why?
that's where I was really good.
Why did you want to major in business rather than pursue music?
Because the musicians that I knew, honestly, they didn't seem to have a good living. And I wanted designer purses, and I wanted trips, and I wanted some of the
You
quote
wanted
unquote.
to chase the American dream. That's what you believed was important, right?
Yeah, and my parents, they weren't exactly excited at the aspect of me becoming a full-time musician. So I had those parental expectations in society. And my father, I remember going to his college graduation and him saying to me, you're going to go to college and you're going to, graduate and you're going to do really well. And yeah, so I had a lot of different family pressures that were at the time not really interested in me becoming a full-time musician. So we made those choices.
Okay, so now your mom and dad were happy because now you're going for a business degree. Let's fast
Yes,
forward. Let's fast forward a little bit. You graduate from school and you land in corporate America, correct?
yes. My first company, Maxwell House Coffee Company, that then became part of General Foods, which owned Post cereals and Aunt Jemima syrup and Jello and all of these great things. So here I am, fresh out of college. I have an expense account. I have a corporate car. I've got my own apartment. Life is good. But the one thing that still remained a constant in my life was music. So I'm still a minister of music at a church, as I had been through all of college and high school. Still doing my music, still enjoying being in church. But now I'm working for corporate America, and I'm traveling all over Michigan, selling coffee and cereal and Jello. What an experience with a map. So here I am in parts of Michigan where I grew up that I had never even knew existed before. And I've got to find them on a map and hit these stores and make these sales. And I loved every minute of it.
Well, let's hold up here 1 second here because you refer to it as a map. For those of you that are watching, and by the way, thank you if you're watching us live tonight in a community. Thank you so much for joining us. It means the world to me and to Sandra. But we're going to date ourselves a little bit here because the younger generation, the millennials, may not even know it. Well, the map as they know it is what's on their phone GPS system or on their laptop or iPad.
Right.
But the map that you're talking about is called an atlas. That was the map, right?
That's right. That's
There's
right.
an
A big
atlas.
fold out map of a city
Right.
or a state that was on paper.
Yeah. Yeah, I know about that map. And I actually went out and invested. I bought a beautiful, nice blue like plastic or fake leather, faux leather cover for it to
Wow.
protect it like a book, because I was on the road like you were. And
Yeah.
I was traveling, let's say the whole Midwest of the United States, multiple states,
Mm-hmm.
10, 11 states at a time, renting cars, the whole thing, airplanes. And I
Yeah.
come into a new city. I only way I had to get to that appointment was by reading the map.
Yes.
Very different than the map that we read today. But in any
Oh,
event, so you were an Atlas girl.
Yes, I had my map. I grew up with my parents going to AAA to get triptychs every time we went somewhere. So where was the nearest gas station and restroom and place to eat? We had those with us. So I'm out here, fresh out of college, going to places in Michigan, like I said, I never even knew existed. And I've got my piece of paper map on the hood of the car, figuring out how to get there. Because that's what my company said. Here's your territory, here's the store list, get to selling, figure out how to get there. And I figured it out. So that was an amazing time. And being able to negotiate and talk to people, I guess the one constant between spending 20 years in corporate America and doing sales and now doing music is the relationship you develop with the people. That's what's important is when I was selling things as far as coffee and beverages and everything else that I've sold over the years, it was building the relationship with the people, getting to know them, getting to understand the needs of people and meeting them. And now in music, it's always been the same thing, developing the relationship, being able to communicate and meet the needs of the people. The only difference in the music is being able to take away sometimes some of the stress you may have had by giving you a great musical experience and joy, having you think about people in a different way because of the songs that I may sing, having you relive certain experiences in your life also because of the types of songs that I sing. But it's still relationship driven, and I love it.
What you just described, if I may paraphrase you, is connecting.
Yes,
Yeah, right. It's
yes,
connecting with people. When you were doing it in business, you were connecting with them probably a little differently, at least for myself.
mhm,
When I put my 34 years into corporate America, it was connecting with them to ultimately was to make a sale, was to close the
yes,
deal. The connecting that I'm talking about that you and I do differently today is on a whole nother level. It's
mhm,
not about making a sale. It's about connecting at the soul level, connecting,
completely.
right?
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. When I'm on stage with the microphone, I'm looking at everyone in my audience. I make sure I personally speak with you. I ask you, is there a song that you want to hear? And hopefully I know it and I can sing it for you because it's my way of connecting to you and communicating with you and allowing you to connect with me. And music does that. Music bridges gaps. Music gives you the ability to feel good or to cry if you needed to, or it allows you to express yourself. Or if you're hearing that artist performing a song, that person is probably expressing how you feel at the moment, but you can't always do it yourself. So music has this healing quality, this quality of uniting people, of uplifting, of just bringing together. It's music is just powerful. And that's what I love even more so about it than I did in corporate America. And you're right. It was about the sale in corporate America. Here it's about the relationships and the true connecting so that you understand that I do feel and I feel you when I'm on stage and even off stage. That's what we do.
In this moment, I'd like to bring you back to corporate America. Um,
Ah!
I know, but we got to go there. We got to go there to get here. So let's go back. Let's take a few steps back.
Yeah.
And who was the last company you were with in your corporate career?
Yeah, it was Heineken USA. I was selling beer to Kroger retail grocery accounts in, let's see, Arizona, Utah, Nevada. Then I had Washington and Oregon and a
Okay, wow.
couple other states in between.
You
Yeah,
were Southwest and West, the Northwest and the Southwest. You had a huge territory.
I
Now,
did.
now, did they actually move you out to Arizona from Detroit?
No, actually, the company that moved me originally was Hostess Brands, the Twinkie company. So it was during the recession, and I was looking for a new opportunity. And they said, "Hey, Sandra, we'll pack you up and move you to Arizona." I said, "Are you kidding me?" They were like, "No." I said, "I'm ready. Let's go." And the company was emerging from bankruptcy. And then about 2 years later, as I'm with the company, they're going back into bankruptcy again. So I moved from them and went over to Dr. Pepper and was there for about 5 years. And then my last stop was with Hostess, the Twinkie company. Yeah. Heineken was the last
Heineken.
stop. Yeah.
So you had quite the resume. I mean, you talk about some of the biggest food companies in the world,
Yes.
name brand recognition, the powerful brand names. Um,
Hmm.
you you had the privilege, the gift
Yeah.
of having the experience of being on their payroll for however long it was.
Yeah.
And I know the person that you are, you learned a lot about people, about the business, about the corporations, about the
Yes.
customers. Because I don't think you do anything, you don't go halfway into anything, you go full in.
Let's say I never missed a sales number. And when they could sit back and say, oh, this customer won't take that product, Sandra got that product sold in. I can guarantee you that. One
Beautiful.
of my customers gave me the nickname of the bulldog. He says, once you get a hold of something, you're not letting it go until it's yours. I said, so let's make the process easy. Just say yes. I
That's
love
beautiful.
I
That's beautiful.
love corporate America. M&M Mars, Johnson and Johnson, Frito Lay. You know, I've been blessed to work for some
Wow, that's
really good
amazing.
companies.
You know,
Yeah,
the ironic thing is that when I was early in my career,
yeah,
I did some training in Detroit. One of our offices was in Detroit, and my boss, my supervisor at the time, who's since retired just a few years ago. In this particular company, they nicknamed their sales reps. Like you got nicknamed Bulldog, right?
yeah.
I got nicknamed the Shark.
There you go. Ah,
And living in the ego space back then, I wore that proud. I
yes,
wore that proud in my suit and tie, and it felt good to be known as the Shark. You know, I
that's
was
right.
always going in for the kill.
There you go.
Um, but you know, a lot's changed since then, and I
Yeah,
no longer, I no longer, it no longer has the same meaning to me as it
completely.
did then, right?
Yeah, it changed because you know corporate America is not about the individual. It's not designed or set up to be about you and who you are. It's set up to be about this is what we need from you. You are a number, and when our situations or whatever change, we appreciate what you brought to the table, but it's ended and let's move on. So corporate America versus what I'm doing now, corporate America didn't really care about you as a person, but what I do now really resonates with who I'm singing to and the people that I get to meet like you. It is such a big difference to get up in the morning and not have an anxiety attack over what may be happening or coming down the line from whatever particular corporate issues may be out there. But to wake up in the morning, like I get to sing today and I get to meet some new people and I get to really do what I enjoy and what I feel I was purposed to do and what I was really truly born to do. It's a big difference to have that feeling in the morning.
It's a beautiful feeling. We're going to get into that in a moment, but what I'd like to do is ask you. We're about halfway into the interview. I'd like for you to perhaps, if you're willing, to sing us perhaps one of your favorite songs of all time. And
Yeah,
if you want to play it on the keyboards or what you got there,
that would be great.
you probably have six other instruments right behind you, but
I do.
whatever's
I've
closest to
got a
you.
guitar, drums, organ, all of that, alto sax in the case. But Aretha Franklin in Detroit, even though she wasn't part of Motown, she was a part of Detroit. And all of her music was just always so inspirational in her voice and her talent. And she was a jazz musician with her first CD. And later on, you know, went to do all the wonderful songs that we know. But this one, Natural Woman, is definitely one of my favorites. So I hope you can hear it okay. Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired. And when I knew I had to face another day, Lord, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind, but you're the key to my peace of mind. 'Cause you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman. How's that going?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking and giving me the opportunity to share that. I appreciate it.
Where I'd like to go in this moment is so now you're working for Heineken
Yeah.
and you're in Arizona and something happened, something changed for you that changed everything.
Yeah, I got fired. Yes, I got fired. But the killer part was I'm a woman of faith and I have a deep belief in God and I feel a good relationship with him. He gave me a heads up when I started that job. So I had even told one of my coworkers 3 months in, I said, I've only got 3 months left here on this job. And he said, well, why would you say that? We don't do that in Heineken. I said, oh, I'm going to be fired in 3 months. And he said, no, we don't do that. And 3 months later, total of 6 months of being with the company, I was fired. And it
So
was devastating.
hold on. Was that intuition or was that you basically somewhat self-sabotaged or what?
Oh no,
What do you think?
I was working very hard. Um, um, I know the boss that hired me. She hired me thinking she could make me into something I wasn't. She wanted to make me into a sales analyst, whereas I'm a salesperson. I'm the one who closes the deal. I put together the deals. You know, I'm not one that's sitting at the computer all day long doing deep analysis. She thought she could change me. That wasn't going to work. The other thing is, I don't believe in intuition. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe that God speaks to us. And he told me that a change was coming. But when it happened, it still took me greatly by surprise because I had just created a couple of programs for some of the accounts I had that no one else had been able to ever implement. One of those things when they told me, Sandra, nobody can do it, but Sandra could do it. Just created some of those great programs. So I was working very hard and engaged. But for whatever reason, you know, the boss said no. And God said so. So I had a company car, gave them the keys, gave them the computer. And she was like, oh, well, we can call you an Uber. No, you don't have to do anything else for me today or ever. I called one of my friends. They came and picked me up. And I admit, I cried. I did, because even though I knew it was coming, I didn't really think it was going to happen. And then when it happened, I was crying because I was mad that I didn't leave on what I thought would be my own terms. And then after a while, I sat back and said, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? I need to hear from you because I know this is all you, that you must have a bigger purpose and a bigger plan, because whenever something has changed dramatically in my life, you have opened the door to something greater and bigger than that which I could have ever thought about before. Whereas I'm limited in my thoughts, where I'm limited in my ways and my processes, you are unlimited. So what is it that you want me to do? Now, because I'm a little hard-headed, I didn't listen the first couple of times he told me. So out here, the entire time I was working, I've always had my bands that I've played with. And then in the last couple of years, I started doing my own band and doing my own thing. So I thought, I'm just going to apply for another job. That's what I need to have, this certain type of lifestyle. Well, I started not getting any phone calls or any interviews. So I went back to the Father and said, Lord, okay, I'm not hearing what you're saying I'm supposed to do. So let me listen this time instead of asking you and going to do what I wanted or what I think I should do. And he made it very clear. My child, I have given you the gift of music. And you are to go out and you are to use your gift of music to sing and to play and to minister. Because whether it's I'm singing with my band doing cover songs or my original songs or doing music in the church, it is still a ministry of reaching people. And every time I tried for a different type of job that I thought I should be doing because the family pressures were coming, he would block it every single time, and then he would send me to another music opportunity. So I finally caught on. It took a little while, but I finally
Saw the signpost.
it took me a full, I would say about a year.
Ooh.
Yeah, about a full year. And in that time, I'm doing more music, but I'm still thinking I'm supposed to be doing something in corporate again. And to lean on him and to have the ways and the doors open up had just been a blessing. And it happened, I would say, the pivotal moment. Can I share that? The pivotal moment? I reached out to a friend of mine and I said, one of my dreams had always been to sing internationally. And I said to him, I've lost my job now, so I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want to do. And music is what I want to do. And I want to go international. Do you know of anybody? He said, yeah, I know this lady in Vegas. And she sends people to Japan. So I reached out to her. This was like in July. So I reached out to her July somewhere 2018, 2017. So I reached out to her and she says, yes, I have auditions coming up to send people to Japan. I said, great. So because she didn't know who I was from anybody, she gave me limited information. So I show up to the audition. My friend had made some tracks for me to sing to. I found out that he wanted the club was a formal club. I looked up the name on the internet and looked at the pictures and I saw what the girls looked like and what they were doing. So I came to the audition dressed like them. I didn't know I should have had a headshot, a music resume. I should know some people out there. Didn't have any of that, but I had him. And I walked in with my tracks. I walked in dressed appropriately and I sang my two songs and evidently blew out the audience. So as soon as I came off the stage, Mr. Ueda in Japan said, I want her. So my first audition ever in my life, I asked for what I wanted. And then I went out and asked friends to help me figure out how to get there. And I got there. I succeeded in the audition and went to Japan for the first time in 2018 and just went again here in 2019, planning to go back in 2020. But it was that type of thing of saying, okay, corporate life is over. I hear you, Lord. You're saying that music is my purpose. It's what I should be doing. Okay, so what does that look like? If I can do anything in music that I want to do, what do I want to do first? And it was go international, and he made that happen. It was great. Painful, because you're going from what you thought you were supposed to be doing to please everyone. I had a six-figure salary, company car, working from my home, expense account, title, prestige, all of that stuff that I thought was important. But all of that stuff that caused me to get super fat, super unhealthy, super unhappy, and anything else you want to add to it that was super and not great. And then getting into music has been a challenge, but it's a challenge that I would greatly take any day versus what I was doing in corporate America. So
On some level, did you feel over 2+ decades that you were living someone else's dream, that you had sold your soul out?
boy, does that put it easily. Yeah. Because I always stayed in music, no matter what I did or what company I worked for or what city I lived in, I always continued to do music. So, and I remember even with Heineken, I got quote unquote in trouble because one night they wanted me to go out and entertain customers. And I said, I can't, I have a gig. And they're like, but you have a job. And I'm like, but I have a gig. Do you know how much your job is paying you versus my gig? Yes, I know, but I have a gig. It was always a conflict of meeting everybody else's expectations instead of being true to who I was, trying to please what I thought America wanted and what I thought my family wanted for me. But let me share where that also came in too, because there was an adjustment. When you're explaining to people who you are and what you do, and you're saying I'm a full-time musician, that has a stigma to it in a lot of areas. It's like saying I'm a full-time artist or sculptor or something in some kind of way where I'm still trying to build my brand and build who I am, because people automatically put you into a category, and that category is you might not be as educated or financially resourceful or anything else because you've chosen the arts versus the other aspect of capitalism in marketing and sales and technology and all this other type of stuff. So when I first got into it and started introducing myself as a musician, and I still feel some of this today, um, I learned what that stigma looked like. And it was cool when I was in corporate America and I could say, oh, I work for Dr. Pepper. I'm a national account executive and I'm a business development manager and I have a team of people. That was very much respected and revered in many aspects. And then going to say, oh, I'm a full-time musician and self-employed entrepreneur. And people are looking at you like, really? And that's when you really learn to love yourself and to really walk in your true purpose. I still sometimes in certain circumstances have to preface it or back it up by saying, okay, I have an MBA, but that's not who I am. So please don't talk down to me because you think I'm just a musician, because I'm not just a musician. I'm more. But even if I didn't have that MBA, I'm still who I am. I'm still capable, knowledgeable. I'm still a performer, an entertainer. I'm still a business consultant, a teacher, and a supporter. All of those things should mean just as much as me putting a title from another company who doesn't care about me as a person to identify me with the social society. So it still gets me sometimes, and you may hear that in my voice.
Why do you think it gets you sometimes? What do you think? Because if I may,
Yeah,
uh,
please.
there's a saying. It's one of the strongest statements that we can embrace for ourselves. You may or may not have heard it said before. It's none of my business what you think of me.
Yeah.
So when I hear you say it still sometimes gets to you, what do you think? Where do you think you need to do some more work for yourself
Mhm.
so that you're not conflicted with when someone asks you what you do to just speak your truth? What do you think is lacking right now for you to be at ease?
I would say I'm more at ease with it now than I had been. I think it gets to me because of how it stigmatizes my other musician friends, who I know
Okay.
to be very industrious and very capable and very knowledgeable. For me, I'll introduce myself. Hey, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a full-time musician. I also teach. I have a 501c3. You know, that's how I introduce myself. I'm a consultant. I have a 501c3. I'm a full-time musician and I do what I love. But knowing that people, and I've met so many great, intelligent, um, highly capable, successful musicians, that it bothers me when people stigmatizes them because I know how great they are and how much they're worth. Society doesn't want to accept it unless you're doing certain aspects of capitalism. They like to put the musicians into a little lower category, which to me is not justified. And that bothers me more because I know who I am and I know what I'm doing and how I'm getting things started and supported out there. But for my fellow musicians, the categorization is not always applicable at all.
You know, the irony of all this is that I believe you touch people's lives today in a much more profound way than when you were selling Hostess Twinkies or Heineken beer,
Thank you
right?
for that. Thank you for that.
And
Um,
you impact people's lives every time you step on stage. You bring them something that they're not getting in a
mm,
workplace. You bring them comfort. You bring them good feelings. You actually, through your songs, through your music, you actually create what I call the perfect opportunity for the parasympathetic nervous system to jump in and bring people out of that fight or flight mode and release some of those endorphins, some of those dopamine, some of those healthy hormones that brings people feeling good about themselves before they leave your show. You've impacted their life in a much healthier way than someone taking a bite out of that poison called Twinkies,
so
right?
that means so much to me to hear that from you, from someone who's seen it, because I strive to do that. I want them to feel something like I'm feeling when I have the opportunity to be in your presence, because for me, it's a gift that you've even decided to come out and spend your time out of your day with me to hear me sing and have me and you be there available for me to talk to and get to know you and say hi and everything else. That is a blessing for me that I don't take lightly. And if you're taking that time out of your schedule and your day to come by and hear some music, the least I can do is give you some of me in the same aspect and share with you through a song. Like for instance, ain't nobody's gonna love me like you do, or all I do is think about you, or blue skies, smiling at me. Whatever I can do musically to connect with you and to take you from where you might be at that moment to someplace else where you don't have to worry or think for a moment. That's what is so powerful, that you've taken time to be with me and I get a chance to share some of me with you and make that connection. I don't take it lightly. I greatly respect it, love it, and appreciate it from everyone who comes out every single time.
As we approach the hour, I'm going to invite you to pick one more song from your heart space and sing us a song, and then we'll have you close us out with closing thoughts.
I'll give you a quick little jazz tune that's always one of my favorites, a jazz standard called Summertime. And I like it because it talks about when the living is easy, and it talks about some issues and things that are going on, but it's still, no matter what, when I moved here from Michigan to Arizona, I always have the summertime sky here, and I appreciate that more than anything. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your ma is good looking. So hush, baby, now, don't you cry.
Thank you so much for singing that this evening.
Thank you, Jay, for having me.
So, Sandra, I'd like to invite you to maybe put some closing thoughts on the show. Perhaps there's someone listening
Yes,
live or on replay that
absolutely.
is right now struggling or conflicted with following someone else's dream of what they should be doing for their career and following their heart. What words of wisdom may you share this evening?
My pleasure. Thank you for that. I lean on God to give me direction. I lean on my friends to give me the truth as well. But the main thing that I lean on is myself. And that is having that relationship with God and knowing that He's given me a purpose. He did not promise us that it was going to be easy. He did not say that every single obstacle would be removed when we wanted it. But what I walked away from corporate America with was a joy inside of me that I finally had the chance and the opportunity to live my dream when other people said no. They said, at your age, some of these things may not happen, but God said yes. And the most important thing that I can tell you is know who you are. Make sure you know your purpose and your dream and your goal, and don't let anyone stop you or take you away from it or tell you it can't be done, because I can tell you today it can be done. But as with anything in life, faith without works is dead. So if you want it, you have to go out and make it happen. It's not going to just land on your doorstep. But once you start building those things for yourself that really give you joy, and you start doing it with other people, you will find that the opportunities will come, that He will put you in those places like today, where I get a chance to talk with Jay's friends out there. Who would have ever thought a few years ago that I would have an opportunity to be in this position? I didn't know, but He knew. And I knew that I had to go out there and do my purpose and myself and my dream, and that everything else would work out okay. that he would provide. The money would come, the opportunity would come. But the most important thing that would come is the joy that I have in myself and knowing that I'm living my purpose and my dream. I am no longer a number for corporate America trying to live up to their expectations. I'm living my dream. I am no longer trying to live up to my parents and my family's expectations of what they think I should be, because I know who I am and I'm living my dream. I'm not trying to live up to this child's purpose or to this societal expectations, because I know who I am. I know my dream and I know my purpose. And I refuse to let anyone, anything, anybody, any situation stop me, because one person is one thing, and then in this whole wide world, there are a whole bunch of different opportunities out there for me. So one person can say no, but I'll tell you, there'll be 5 others ready to say yes. So today I encourage you, look inside yourself, find out what your passion and your dream is, and go after it. Don't stop. Don't let anybody or anything stop you. You can and you will have it. Keep the faith in God. And if that's not who you prescribe to, fine. Have the faith in yourself and have the faith in your dream to know that you are capable. You can make it happen. It will happen. Get out there and do it. And most of all, be happy. That's what this life is about. That's what I would share, Jay.
Beautiful. Well, you did it. You did it. You did it so beautifully, so eloquently, and with such incredible passion that comes from within. I felt it. The backdrop behind me, it's somewhat blocked, but it says, could you read do you see what it says there?
Be the artist of your soul. Yes. Powerful. Powerful.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we've been chatting about this evening, is sometimes it's not even someone else's words or thoughts. It's our own thoughts.
Yes.
And our own self-doubt and our own false story that we keep holding on to in our thoughts, that we're coming from fear space, that we're either not good enough, we're not talented enough. Mm-hmm. We just may not be enough to pursue what we know within ourselves is really what we're supposed to be doing, where we're supposed to be doing it, and how we're supposed to be doing it. Yes. And so it's learning how to trust yourself. Yes. And learning how to stop listening to the BS that's coming from your story that you've been talking about all these years.
And there's a lot of that out there. So you're going to have your up days and your down days. You're going to have your difficult days, but there's so many great days out there. And you just have to keep pushing through and keep pushing forward and know that what you're working towards and what you've asked for, it will happen. But do the work, but it will happen.
Last question for you, girl.
Yeah.
How did you turn off the stories in your own head?
So what happens when those things and those doubts come in my head? I sit back, and I'm blessed to be able to look at my calendar of events, and I can sit back and say, oh Lord, you've blessed me to do this opportunity. You've blessed me to do that opportunity. And when it's really difficult, most of all, I just go to him in prayer and I say, Father, I'm having a difficult day today. Can you please show me that you're with me, that you haven't left me? And then I'll call a friend as well and say, girl, I'm going crazy today. Can you just talk to me? And you have all these different support systems. You have yourself in what you believe in. I believe in God. I have him, and I have wonderful friends and family that lift me up when I may be feeling down. And it's okay to feel down. That's absolutely normal. If you were up here all the time, I would want to know what you're taking. But if you have those down days, use yourself and your support system to lift you back up, and just know that tomorrow is another day, but look for the small miracles in every single day, in every situation that you've been blessed with, and they'll help you to keep moving forward, because greater is ahead.
People want to get hold of you. Where do they find you? How can they listen to your music online? Great.
They can find Sandra Bassett very simply at Sandra, Sandra, Bassett, BASSETT.com. and you can send me an email through there as well. You can find me on Facebook at Sandra Bassett Music. You can find me on Instagram at Sandra Bassett Music. We keep the branding consistent. And my email is also thesandrabassett@gmail.com. I make it very simple to be able to connect with you. And I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. And even more importantly, hopefully seeing you sometime soon so we can break bread together and just celebrate how wonderful living in our purpose and our dream is.
Beautiful. Sandra Bassett, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
this
you,
evening
Jay.
on Real People, Real Stories. If you are passing through the state of Arizona, all you have to do is look Sandra up. She's playing, usually, if she's not on tour out of the state, she's playing locally in Phoenix, in Scottsdale,
Yes.
in all over the valley. And she's got got great talent. I love being entertained by you, and I am honored to call you friend today, Sandra Bassett.
Same here.
Thank you so much for joining us on Real People, Real Stories Raw, and we will see you on stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.